damn it. Shit, I don't know what to pick here. I'm gonna have to start all over, man. Fuck this tonight, man.
Cells, I got Whiplash,
How am I supposed to connect this?
This is too hard.
Too hard. Try hooking up Zoom to a 78 Magnavox, asshole. There's too many goddamn cords here.
I'm just trying to get my pick solidified. We're gonna look like a bunch of fucking amateurs here.
Well, then just set up a meeting in Zoom and have 3 boxes like normal people do on their shows.
Hyrax. Oh my god, man. I totally forgot this one. This is mandatory, dude.
Fuck Hyrax right now, man, okay? I don't know if this coaxial RF...
I don't know what you're saying right now. Hook it up through the thing and put it up through the back of that there in the yellow holes or something, man. You're the sound engineer.
Record onto the computer, and then it says recording, so you're good.
I can see the red dot, Professor. Thank you, man. What I can't figure out is how to switch screens when one of you assholes is talking.
Depending on what view you choose, if you choose the one that says speaker, it'll just record who's talking.
When you two are talking, it switches between the two.
Oh, okay. So, like, when I speak, the camera picks it up and then switches. That's not so hard, Castillo.
I swear to God, I'm going to punch you in the dick right now.
Well, all right, boys. Cool. Nice to meet you both, by the way. Hey, man, and sorry, welcome to the show. So let's edit this shit out. Let's clean it up and have a nice pro opening. Oh, fuck. I can't fit into my bullet belt anymore. Track.
Try saying no when they ask if you want gravy on the side.
I can't help it if I like to party. You better grab your white high tops, bullet belts, and vasectomy jeans, because we're about to bang the head that does not bang, and prepare to have your ass caught in a mosh, or at the very least, your panties in a bunch from our selections,
as we stage dive head first into the fiery pits. Drag me to hell. Thrash edition.
Was that too much? That felt really over the top.
No, that's a keeper.
Tonight's guest man, strap in the minds behind Crank and Rank. Scabies and gentlemen, HEAD and EDDIE SPARXX. Yes, round of applause, please. Boys, this is a huge night for us here. A huge party. A national holiday as hell prepares itself for the arrival of Jim Steinman. Psyched out of our minds, so we gotta get this bitch lit, as the kids, I think, are saying.
It's my anniversary today as well.
Oh shit, and you decided to stream with us instead. Your ass may end up down here sooner than you think, Edward.
Thankfully, though, I have the advantage of her being in Birmingham right now, so I kind of got away with it.
Well, fuck it, you could always cyber in the chats later, dude.
Those of you that are new to our channel, Drag Me to Hell is simple. For whatever reason, your ass is dead on a first-class elevator ride to hell. Satan's not the beast you think he is, and he's gonna let you take 5 thrash albums real quick for all of eternity. But before that, I guess we have to have a little bit of a meet and greet. Let's get that out of the way. Eddie, how old are you, my child? You born in 1990 or something?
98.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
How in the hell did a nice young lad like yourself get into this racket?
Well, first it was my mom. And then I think it was just the video games I grew up playing, like GTA, San Andreas, and Vice City have kick-ass soundtracks. It's funny, actually, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about how there's like 3 generations of music listeners at this point. And you got like the radio generation, the MTV generation, and then you got the video game generation where there were like in-game radio stations. And that's kind of where I got my taste from. And Vice City is set in 1986. So it's that kind of Scarface, Miami Vice vibe. But there's a rock station on that that's got like a ton of glam and thrash on it that's just awesome.
Okay, that does make sense. Good on you, Rockstar Games. Old head, now you're the same age as me, roughly. What are you, born in 77, 78?
78, I'm 43.
Shit, I'm the old man here. It's strange because you'd think you and I would be on the same page, but judging from your show's content, there might have been a slight path deviation in the early 90s, yeah?
Yeah, I liked MTV. I mean, that was the thing. I watched it all the time. So that's why, like, I'm a fan of all of this music. But I think that's why I love a lot of the hair metal stuff as much as the thrash metal stuff, because you saw all of that stuff together. Right. But then once the 90s came around, things really changed, but mostly because of the people that I was around. In Austin, Texas, there wasn't a metal scene. Right. It was blues rock and stuff like that. And so the people that I was around who were also metalheads, very quickly they all went, oh no, we're into punk now. And then very quickly they went, oh no, now we're into indie rock and emo. Like they literally moved as far away as from metal as you could. And I was the one who was still like, I got this new Pantera. It's pretty great, right? You know, it's like, So it really changed my perspective on things because I had to come back around to getting back into metal in the early 2000s, which is due to Mastodon. Mastodon's the reason why I like came back in. And then as soon as I did that, I started going, man, I used to love all this music back in the late 80s and early 90s. And I went back and I was like, shit, I still love all of it. And there's all this other stuff that I didn't know about because I wasn't old enough or had cool enough friends where I knew all the underground shit. So there's bands that I love now that I didn't even know existed in 1990, you know? And so, but I don't know, but it was more just, I liked the more polished stuff, I guess. It seemed like you like the raw kind of shit a lot of times.
Oh yeah, hey, in Canada we had much music. Pepsi Power Hour, Power 30, that shaped me as well. Glam, thrash, death, zero problems with it. But as I got older, I kind of veered off into the world of private pressing and rarities, mostly as an archivist. But I fell in love real hard, real fast. I guess that's why we have all these kids behind me here.
Question is, man, are you guys still listening to Thrash, man? Because it causes Papa Nature here a little bit of anxiety.
What? I didn't say I didn't listen to it. I was just that I'm 44 years old, man. Like, I don't know what the rush is with these guys anymore.
Me? Yes. The metal that I love more than anything else is thrash because that's kind of what I first discovered because I went from Van Halen to Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses. And then when metal came around, the first thrash metal album I heard was Anthrax. And so that was the first sort of faster, heavier thing that I heard. And so that's always been my thing because I got into that and I loved the way the riffs sounded in thrash bands. And I also loved the fact that they were also really good at playing their shit, but they weren't like wanky noodly. They seemed technically proficient at playing really fast stuff. And then once I got into Metallica, it was game over because I was just like, songwriting wise, they were just so interesting, but also all the Metallica albums kind of seemed very different from each other. Aside from Ride and Master have some similarities, but that just all of a sudden that just opened up me to wanting things to be more. That's why I like progressive shit because I like listening to music that's got riffs, but at the same time, it'll throw in things where I go, I got to figure out how to play that, or I don't even know how to figure how they wrote that part or whatever, you know? So I like that kind of shit.
I think this is probably why I feel so conflicted in my day-to-day life outside of music, because my the trifecta of genres that are my favorites are glam, thrash, and grunge. So those three stereotypically are all at war with one another. But I never really, I suppose because I'm younger, so it's kind of after the fact.
Yeah.
I never really witnessed the rivalries firsthand, so I just heard good music, really.
God damn, boys, I'm starting to reevaluate whether you open-minded, mature souls are even hellbound to begin with. Look at us, like a couple of chatty Cathys 8 minutes in. You do realize I got about 11 subscribers just dying to get down to business, and another 43 just itching to tear us a new asshole in the comments, right? Full disclosure here, between you, me, Eddie, and this imaginary plate of brownies here, I struggled with this. I put way too much thought into this. No, that's speed metal. No, that's black and thrash. No, that's crossover. I mean, the choices I've made, I might even switch it midway.
I actually just went with my gut. I was like, in reality, if this was a real situation, what would I choose? And I chose those.
I went with my instinct too, yeah.
No, that never works for me, let me tell you. Well, all right, boys. Final boarding call. You guys sure about these decisions?
Oh, yeah. All 5 of these albums are albums that still get played at least once a year, if not more. These are my buddies. These have been here with me for a long time, you know?
Eddie, have you used the bathroom before we go? Because we're not stopping. It's a long way down. Well, all right then.
Let's go to hell.
I'm going to go ahead and get like an obvious one out of the way. Like you all both probably know that this is an album I'm bringing with me. I'm bringing Ride the Lightning with me.
You couldn't resist, could you? You couldn't resist.
No, I thought that I was going to try to be cooler with it, but this is not only my favorite Metallica album, but my favorite album ever.
You'd have to be a real disagreeable bastard to have a problem with this album.
Like, I love every second of this album, even Escape. Escape is a great song to me. But yeah, I couldn't leave Metallica behind because it's like, to me, it's the best example of a band that's like, they have a fire lit under their ass. They're just like, man, we got something good, and they feel inspired, but they haven't made it yet. So this is still them like proving themselves, but they've already gotten good. And so that's, I don't know, it's just exciting to listen to.
I get it. It's a solid choice, and I understand you'd feel like a complete jackass if you didn't pack it, right?
Yeah, because I love every song on it. And I mean, not to say I don't love every song on their first 5 albums, because I do. But this one in particular, for some reason, sonically, the way it sounds, the way the guitars sound, because it's not over polished, but it sounds pretty good. It's got that nice, I don't know, it's like a nice 80s sounding metal album without being overproduced. It just has a nice crunch to it. And it never gets old to me at all.
Fast Eddie, I'm curious, man. What's going to be your carry-on album?
Well, I'm just going to keep the vibe going because I've also gone for Ride the Lightning. I was looking at all 5, or at least all 4, of the first Metallica albums, thinking which one am I picking? And I know Ride the Lightning is the shortest, but it's also the sweetest. I was thinking maybe Justice based on sheer length alone, but it's just unfuckwithable, as Stephen would say. It is one of those all killer, no filler slabs of awesome that the 80s gave us. So we've pretty much covered Ride the Lightning already, but yeah, it's a stone cold classic.
Solid picks, but I'm a good Canadian kid, man, so I'm going with Annihilator, Alice in Hell.
Nice.
Maybe you need to be the person to shepherd me into them, because I can't get into Annihilator, and I don't really know what the problem is, because there's so much about them that I should love.
Well, I don't know. Some people get Monty Python, some people don't. Annihilator, well, I suppose Jeff Waters was a little too smart for his own good, in my opinion. The band's too zany for its own good, right? It's overly technical at times and complex, and Jeff's talents don't always serve the best interest of the song. Like, the song is just melting faces, and then the breakdown happens, and it's, oh, flamenco guitar. Look at him. And then there's Craft Dinner, which hooked me as a kid. You know, I got that immediately. But this album, man, checks and balances. Ligeia, Human Insecticide, Wicked Mystic, Welcome to Your Death, fucking savage.
Craft Dinner, that's a very Canadian term, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you guys just call it Kraft mac and cheese, right?
Yeah, it's just mac and cheese over here, yeah.
Fucking monsters. So yeah, that ever-changing vocalist thing and Wayne Darley leaving the band, that was hard enough. But when the band flattened their sharpened R in their logo, like when Anthrax shortened their X on White Noise, I was like, nope, I'm out.
It's so rare for a band to have an actually killer logo, so why would you fuck with it? Like, once you find one, like, just stick to it. It just seems kind of silly.
Sure.
I can actually jump over to, because you mentioned a band, and I'm gonna bring it in. But the first thrash metal album I ever heard.
Oh, I'm loving it.
Is coming with me, and I unapologetically refer to this as my favorite Anthrax album, because it is, but it's the first one I ever heard. Like, this is the beginning of thrash for me. And so I had nothing to compare it to at the time. And even after becoming a huge Anthrax fan right after this and getting into everything, because I think I got this album, and then literally, I think weeks later, Persistence of Time came out.
Right.
And so I was really into everything they did, but this had that weird combination of like the cool metal riffs and energy, but it just felt fun. And that's what I always liked about them, is that I felt like you're coming with these dudes to have a good time, but the music isn't necessarily funny. It's just that they have a very lighthearted approach to it, I guess.
I can't look at that album without craving McDonald's. I'm serious. I'd beat the face off a double quarter pounder right now in a 20-pack of McNuggets. 3 apple pies and a trough of fries. Gunga Singa. But yeah, Steven, I'm with you right there, man. This album holds a very special place in my heart because the arcade rats at the time were only into like this, Justice, and So Far So Good. There was nothing else that mattered. Oh yeah, and there was this older dude in the back that used to sell hash. He was into Sabbath.
And it wasn't until years later that I heard people start to say that it was weak. And it was almost into the 2000s. All of a sudden people were like, that was a weak album. I'm like, what? And then people say things like, everyone's always thought it was a weak album. I'm like, nobody I ever fucking talked to thought it was a weak album.
Yeah, I didn't get that memo at all either.
I'll agree that it's not. Other Anthrax albums have stronger qualities, but for me, this is the Anthrax album.
Eddie, what's next, my man?
Okay, so I thought I'd stick with the Metallica Megadeth kind of duo. So I've gone for Rust in Peace.
Holy shit, another absolute beast.
In terms of the thrash Megadeth, this again, you can't fuck with this. The lineup of, you know, Mustaine, Ellefson, Menza, and fucking Marty Friedman as well. Like, that lineup doing the thrash stuff, I feel like from a thrash standpoint in particular, that's the peak. That's the peak right there.
No, it's a strong point for sure. Now, I call it the Royal Conservatory album.
Now, children, we're going to see Rust in Peace tonight. Please put your ties on and no feet up on the seats.
Like, the band no longer seemed frightening and dangerous. Like, what do they call the first 3 albums? The shithead era? I adore the shithead era. Fucking decked out in grenades, bullet belts, and Visine workplace. But Eddie, I get it. It's the greatest album of their discography to 90% of their fans.
Like, it may not have the same kind of energy that the early Megadeth had, but it's one of those things I still put on. I'm like, I can't, like, if I was going to make a perfect metal album, this is kind of it, because it's got everything in it. It's got riffs that you're just like, I got to grab my guitar and figure that shit out right now. And then it's got, the whole band is so fucking tight. And the groove that's created with Nick Menza, like as a drummer, when he hits those little groovy parts, I don't think anybody plays that better than he did.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think that they were contractually obligated not to wear shirts on this tour.
Maybe some silk blouses.
They do look very posh, don't they?
When I first got that album, I was all like, why is Dave wearing like a polo shirt?
Yeah.
It's a gay pirate's greatest fantasy.
So I went second wave San Francisco here, guys.
Nice.
Violence Eternal Nightmare. Covers King here too. I like the Perpetual Teeth Vagina Monster. As a heterosexual and a monster enthusiast, I don't know. But I always felt that this band was kind of underappreciated.
I agree. Absolutely.
Like, did you guys listen to Violence? Or did you have a hard time with Sean Killian's vocals too?
Violence was one that I didn't get into until later, because there was only one music video they played on MTV by them, and it was off of the next album, I believe. And there was something about it that didn't connect with me. I think it's probably because the vocalist had his hair in a ponytail. And I'm like, why did he do that?
We're shallow bastards, aren't we? Bitching about Annihilator R's and ponytails. I will say, though, that I do think that the second album, Oppressing the Masses, is somewhat of a better album, but the debut is no slouch. And it edges it out only because of that awesome Ed Repka cover.
Dude that's still doing covers today.
Correction, he does every cover today. Every. Like generic thrash bands make weekly pilgrimages to his house. He's just phoning them in. But I sure as shit love Sean Killian. And that's no surprise, really, because a lot of my favorite singers seem to be in that vein.
But he's unique, and that's what I love. A band that I didn't include, but I love, is Holy Terror.
Goddamn Holy Terror.
Another one of those vocalists where he makes these odd choices in his vocals, and I'm like, that's why I like him, because he doesn't just do the straightforward thing that you expect everybody to do.
How did I not pick them?
So since we were talking earlier about bands that do drive home the politicalness, this one is absolutely coming with me to hell.
Home run with that choice, man. Home run.
One of my favorite bands and my favorite Sacred Reich album. But once again, this is the band getting more progressive with their music. And man, I fucking love everything about this album. There's that production where all of a sudden all the bands were trying to make Injustice for All. Like, they all had that kind of dry, where the guitars are real, the mid-range seems like it's turned up a lot or something.
Yeah, I think the album came with the Deskit pack. Zero moisture.
But I just love the way this one sounds, and I love the fact, like, the song 31 Flavors, even though it's kind of silly, it kind of just sums up how I felt then and feel now about music. It's like, you don't just have to fucking listen to thrash to be a fan of thrash. And they literally said it on this album.
You know, no one ever talks about their mascot, OD.
Our Dude. Probably not the best name in the world for a mascot, is it?
Oh yeah, he's not in the same league as Riot's Johnny the Seal, let me tell you. All right, Monsieur Edward, what do you have for us next?
Okay, so I don't have a vinyl copy of this, but I do have a CD.
A C what?
Shut up, asshole. Go ahead, Eddie.
Practice What You Preach by Testament.
Yeah.
Nice.
So this one's kind of like sandwiched right in the middle between first two early albums, and then you've got Souls of Black and then The Ritual. I feel like this one perfectly captures that middle ground between their thrashiness and their catchiness. Like all of the songs on here like have a hook. It's just like, time is coming.
Yeah.
Oh, so fucking like the blend of heavy and catchy on this one is one that just, you know, gets me singing along to it, and few albums get that kind of vocal resonance out of me, but that's one that just does it for some reason.
Wearing your electric crown. God, I love when Testament decides to go light and breezy. I'm a huge fan of Greg Christian's farty bass on Souls of Black. Disgusting. Then everyone got in a bad mood and did low. Although I gotta say, I did appreciate when Dave Mustaine used to wear that testicles shirt in that Testament font. What an asshole.
Didn't they go on tour with Aerosmith and he set fire to an Aerosmith shirt on stage or some shit?
Yeah, no, he blew his nose in the Aerosmith flag.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah.
I would kick Dave off of the tour for that too.
Dave let a lot of people down, including himself, but they had no business on that tour. Can you imagine the sea of disappointed moms when they broke into like Phalo 2, right? If they were lucky.
They're one of my top 5 favorite bands, and I love even the last Aerosmith album. I love.
I was with them right up till Loving the Escalator. I was loving the elevator.
That's in public right there. You're just screwing on stairs that are moving.
You better move fast, man, or someone's ass is going to get nipped at the top. Hey, speaking of fast, it's my turn, and I'm picking L.A. Viking, Do or Die.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice obscuro cool guy choice.
Shut up, Castillo.
Double shut up to you.
Shut up, Infinity. Look at this cover, man. Huge horn helmet dwarfs. I think they're dwarfs anyway, but you don't see that very often. This album is not going to win any awards for production, I'm going to tell you that. It's oppressive, man, and it's abrasive. It's dark and dirty thrash in the vein of Creator's Endless Pain or maybe Demolition Hammer. I don't know. But if you're into speed, you're going to thrive in this environment, man. It feels like the band had maybe under an hour of studio time booked when they got in there, but it's a white-hot berserker rage album. There's been a lot of comparisons to Dark Angel, and I get that, especially because 2 of the members in the band were kind of billed as brothers, the Erickson boys. They weren't related at all. I think that was just the Viking vibe that they were going for. But yeah, one went on to become an ordained minister, while Brett Erickson actually went on to be in Dark Angel. Eddie, you ever listen to Viking?
They're one that I've like seen the name in passing, but really need to check out.
Well, I goddamn recommend that you do.
This one is absolutely coming with me to hell. Obnoxious.
Ooh,
sweet.
Once again, a band getting progressive. You see a theme here. The theme's not going to end with my next one either. But this is the only Acid Rain album, aside from the newest one from the reformed version, that they sound like a tight band. Because their first 2, they're not well produced and it sounds kind of chaotic, like it could run off the rails at any time. But this one, it just sounds like the dudes like went to summer school for writing metal and then came back and went, we know how to do this shit. And they just wrote this weird ass progressive kind of album that it's really, I can understand why people didn't really get into it, because it's got qualities that don't necessarily fit what you would expect from like a progressive thrash album. But
Sure.
it's literally just long songs that just go all over the place, and it's never a dull moment on this album for me, but they're also one of my favorite bands.
Can you hold that album cover up there again?
This wasn't their first choice, though. They had like a drawing that honestly I don't think is as good as this idea. And the record company didn't want it. I think it was Music for Nations. And they just said, fine, we're just going to make this the album cover. And so that's what it is. It's one of the most memorable album covers to me.
Full disclosure, my favorite color in the world is pink, all right? Sick, Eddie. Get your mind out of the gutter. And what year is that?
1990.
God damn. Can you imagine seeing that up on the shelves there next to all the Ed Repkas?
Especially when you would look at things and go, oh, that's probably metal. You would never look at this and think this was metal. So you just go right past it and not even listen to it. Funny enough, there's a makeup line also called Acid Rain. So if you try to search them, sometimes you'll get ads for this makeup that's called Acid Rain.
Well, that's actually the point of tonight's show, because after tonight, people, we're actually changing the format. We're going full makeup tutorials.
That's how we're going to get more viewers and followers, is that we do makeup on each other.
Exactly, right? Get some of that play-on money, as the kids, I think, are saying.
My next one, for the sake of variety and wanting to pick Slayer at the same time,
Yeah.
I had to go Seasons in the Abyss.
Oh, shit.
We're just hanging on 1990, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that album was huge, especially on Much Music for me as a kid. That album was pushed harder than anything that I can ever remember.
For me, it kind of takes the best qualities from Rain and Blood and South of Heaven and blends them together in like the ideal Slayer record. Because like people who like South of Heaven for what it is, you know, they like the slower, meteor riffs, and then the people that prefer Rain in Blood like the faster shit. You've got a pretty healthy mix of both on this disc. It's pretty, again, unfuckwithable.
You have the sharpest lexicon now. Go over at your grandmother's. She puts down a nice sunshine salad. This sunshine salad is unfuckwithable. Gonna ruin Christmas, Eddie.
But War Ensemble on par, not on par, but it's up there with Angel of Death as an amazing album opener. Like that is that is a great way to start an album with a song like that.
Yeah, they want me back here on this one. Now, I wasn't so much a fan of South of Heaven. It's not that I disliked it. It's just, I was so goddamn bored. I was like, come on, guys. Come on, hurry it up. Speed it up a little bit. Come on.
Put it up to like 45 RPM instead, just to hear it go faster.
Yo, check it out. All right, number 2 for me. Josh Christian's
Nice.
Toxic. I'm going to do a switcheroo here right now, because while I will agree with anyone with sense, World Circus is a far superior album, yes. I'm going to take Think This instead, because I didn't listen to it as much. Because it's an album that I bought, spent a little bit of time with it, but to be honest with you, back in the day, technical thrash really got on my nerves. And I was much more of a fan of Mike Saunders singing than I was of Charles Sabin. This one also kind of ditches the raw aggressive sound that they had for a more technical proggy sound that kind of reminded me of like a Thrash Rush or Queensryche or Fate's Warning. But it's got a story, one that we've all heard, but I think that that'll be beneficial in Hell.
Good idea. You should bring something that you can get to know in Hell. I didn't even think about that.
Well, that's what I was thinking, man. You go into Hell, you're going to take your wife with you? No, man. You want some out-of-town strange.
I don't mean to wrap up things in kind of a anticlimactic way, because this album's already been talked about. And this wasn't going to be on here. I actually had a different one on here before, but I was honest with myself, and I'm bringing Rust in Peace with me also.
Hey!
All right, kids, put your bow ties back on. We're going to the symposium again.
Funny enough, the album that almost made it was the first album by Dead Brain Cells, because I absolutely love that album and that band. But I was just thinking about it. I was like, that album's great and all, but this has like I talked about before, there's so much going on in this album musically for me that it doesn't ever get old to me. And so I had to bring it. It's just one of those ones that you drop the needle on Holy Wars, and every time I'm like, just clear my fucking schedule.
Yeah.
Well, now I feel like an asshole for not bringing it.
Okay, so this is my deep cut. This is my deep cut that I'm bringing.
Okay.
I've got Set the World on Fire by Annihilator.
What? Whoa, hold on. You're blowing my mind here now, Eddie. You are bringing Set the World on Fire.
Hell yeah, dude. This one straddles all of those lines that I love about the early 90s metal sound. So it has your thrashers, you got some groovers in there, you got a batshit insane almost Mr. Bungle song at the end with Brain Dance, and then you've got two really melodic, straight up almost ballad tracks with Phoenix Rising and Sounds Good to Me. And it's like this kind of covers all the bases. So for the sake of having something that sounds fresh to my ears, I feel like this one satisfies all the needs across the board. It's kind of a smorgasbord kind of deal.
You have layers, Edward. You have layers. I wish you were there in '93 to see my face when the first song that I heard from that album was Sounds Good to Me.
I always end up liking the albums that divide people anyway. Is this one that like divides everybody?
This was an album that almost divided my country. Quebec wanted to separate. They were blaming BC. BC said we had no responsibility. They moved to Ottawa. Atlantic provinces. We showed support by keeping quiet until King of the Kill came out. And that's when we put our foot down.
I'm just gonna dive in and listen to some of their shit. That's what I gotta do.
All right, finally for me, Evil Dead: Annihilation of Civilization.
Oh, yeah.
How can you go wrong when your band is made from the burnt offerings of Agent, Steel, and Abattoir? Juan Garcia, Mel Sanchez. This to me is classic cult thrash. Like, I know Phil Flores gets some flack for his lack of range, they say, but I think he does the job perfectly on this, man.
Albums like that are really important to me because they get forgotten about sometimes because they're so just like middle of the road thrash. Like there's nothing setting it apart. But some of those albums are like the ones that I really enjoy, just because sometimes you just want something that's just going to be thrash. That's it. And that's like an album that's what you get, exactly.
When I put it on, man, I'm having a good time. And I would recommend this to any young neo-thrash enthusiast, let me tell you. Well, that's what I loved about this so much. I got to revisit a whole bunch of bands that I probably haven't listened to in about 20 years. Dead On, Realm, Forced Entry, Atrophy. And I guess that's why I went with more obscure choices, because for the classics, they're in my DNA. I don't need to listen to them anymore.
Like, I tried to go with the ones that I feel have stuck around with me as being favorites, so I know that I'll always enjoy them. Because how long are you in hell for? Like eternity, right? And so I'm just like...
Eternity's a long time.
Suspended sentence.
They've stood the test of time. That's why I didn't bring any Nasty Savage with me. Otherwise, I probably...
Minimum wage of mayhem. Boys, I can't thank you enough. People, check out Old Head and Eddie SPARXX's channel, especially Cranked and Ranked. It is awesome. Next episode, we're venturing back into the realms of Dungeons & Dragons with a very surprise special guest. I don't want to blow it, but it rhymes with Beto Pleologian. See if you can figure that out.